Just hours after the bombs fell that morning of December 7th, the U.S. declared martial law in Hawaii, and life in the islands changed dramatically. Empty streets, as the military, now in control, enforced a tight curfew. No one allowed out on the roads after 9 p.m. without a pass like this one.
The first thing was, you were kind of curfewed. In the evenings, you weren't allowed to go out. And then eventually, when they permitted people to leave in their cars and all that, they had to black out their lights.
And the blackouts, the skyline dark as Hawaii's residents learned to live in the darkness for fear the lights would lead to enemy bombings. And bomb shelters were mandatory.
We had to build bomb shelters too. Every house had to have a bomb shelter.
You had a bomb shelter?
Yeah,
what did it look like?
You have to have it. Or you dig it and then you put sandbag all around. In the top you put some heavy roof on it. And you pack with sandbag too, something like that. And it's kind of good fun going inside it just to play.
Gas masks were issued to everyone, school kids included, and they were to be carried with them at all times. Even babies had them, though they kind of looked like a Halloween costume. Trenches were dug throughout the island, and trench drills became a regular occurrence at school. Barbed wire stretched across Oahu's most picturesque beaches and around prominent buildings like Iolani Palace. Aloha Tower painted in camouflage. The fear was that the Japanese would invade, or perhaps already had. Michael Lilly remembers the stories his parents and grandparents shared.
They had reports that the Japanese were landing. They had paratroopers in the hills. They had people landing. They poisoned the water supply. My grandfather filled every tub, every basin, every pot with water. Anything he could fill it up with, he'd fill it up with water.
It wasn't only civilians who feared an invasion. Lilly shared with us an entry from Admiral Chester Nimit's secret command daily log. It said because of the great success of the Japanese raid on the 7th, it is expected to be promptly followed up by additional attacks in order to render Hawaii untenable. We found artifacts from wartime Honolulu at the Honolulu Police Department Museum. HPD was under the military during much of the war. In fact, the police reserve was activated December 7, 1941. These two books on display at the museum outline martial law.
I've had a chance to kind of read through that, and it would give you, like they say, chicken skin, because the military had complete authority here. They were judge, jury, and executioners if necessary. There was no higher authority than the military.
There's a ration book, the stamp showing how its owner carefully chose when to redeem their coffee, sugar, or gasoline. Necessities were limited. And then there's this bill stamped Hawaii.
They did not want the Japanese to be able to use American money. So according to the records, about $250 million were burned out at the sugar mill and at a local crematorium. Everything that they did not burn, they stamped with Hawaii on the front and back, so it would be useless anywhere else.
Apparently, Japan had already printed its own invasion currency. The entire community pulled together for the war efforts. The Red Cross played a huge role. Here's 17-year-old Daniel Inouye studying for his Red Cross test. Ginger Lilly, Mike Lilly's mother, was part of the Red Cross Motor Corps. She drove the wounded on December 7th. And Liberta Atherton, the newlywed, began as a Red Cross Gray Lady. They were called that because they wore gray uniforms. She wrapped bandages. She soon became a ward, the Women's Air Raid Defense. They worked at Fort Shafter, plotting reports of plane sightings, then checked to see if they were U.S. planes.
And if none of them could answer it, why then we would have to go out and we'd send the fighters out to see what they were. And it usually turned out to be somebody that was coming in that had forgotten to send the signal or something like that. But we never had any problems. Thank heavens.
The Blood Bank of Hawaii opened its doors in summer of 1941. People stood in line to give. 50 donors an hour, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and this went on for months. There were so many wounded, schools were turned into hospitals, including St. Louis College. This painting by Brother Nicholas Waldeck shows the conversion of St. Louis as desks were taken out and nearly 1,000 beds were brought in. Little is left of the wartime days at St. Louis except for a metal hospital rocker and this wooden medic's locker. And the memories of students like Albert Chong and Herbert Wong. St. Louis high school students attended school at McKinley, but were taught by their Marianist brothers.
Oh, we got transferred to McKinley. But in a way, we're happy to be transferred. You know why? Got a lot of girls in McKinley. St. Louis didn't have any girls. They still don't have girls.
Students contributed big time to the war efforts. When adults were pulled from the pineapple fields to do wartime jobs, teenagers worked the fields. They also raised money selling war bonds. In 1943, McKinley students raised over $330,000. That's equivalent to $4.6 million in today's money to buy this B-24 Liberator for the Air Force. It was named Madame Pele. McKinley High School is one of the few civilian properties that still carries the signs of war. Look closely and you'll see bullet holes on the administration building. As the story goes, Japanese pilots did a strafing run on December 7th, thinking the school was a government building. Blackout paint remains on a few of the windows of the one McKinley building that has yet to be renovated. A piece of wartime history to remind us of a time when war touched Hawaii soil and uprooted lives.